All right, welcome into the Joe Thomas half hour of the program here on Cleveland Browns Daily. It goes into the record book 23-16, but it was far more than that. I mean, this one kind of had everything off. There's so many ways to start here, but I think one of the overarching themes this season has been the two rookie quarterbacks. Dylan, unfortunately, goes down with a concussion, and so you get a half of Shedeur Sanders. What did you make of the debut? What did you make of what he did positively and negatively in his half?
Well, I think I'll start with the negative. I think you saw a lot of the same mistakes that we saw in preseason, right? And some of the same mistakes that he was making in college, which was one of the big knocks on him, right? He takes a lot of sacks. He's not exactly sure where to go with the football quickly, and he always has a tendency to drift back in the pocket. And you saw that a bunch, and it bit him at times. There was a couple big sacks that he took that were for a lot of lost yardage. He made things a little bit tough on the offensive line at times with how deep he was drifting in the pocket, how long he was hanging onto the football. I think we could have done a little bit better job helping him out sometimes, because once he got in the game, the Ravens were just blitzing him relentlessly with double A-gap blitzes, with twisters, with different variations of kind of the same concept where they were trying to get an extra man free because they figured that, hey, he's not exactly sure where the ball's going. So as long as we can get somebody free, we're going to be able to get him home and make a big play. Now, he made some nice throws, so I'll go to the positive. I thought even though he was in a situation where that's not how you want your rookie quarterback to get his first playing time, his first meaningful snaps of his NFL career, where he doesn't have a chance during the week to be the guy that the game plan is built around. He's not the guy that got the first team reps during the week. And so it's a difficult situation to be able to jump into. But unfortunately, the life of a backup quarterback says that sometimes you got to jump in when you don't have those reps, when you don't have the game plan that's built for you. But I thought he did a nice job just not letting the moment be too big for him, even though he was making a lot of the same mistakes that he made in preseason that we saw and then in college. You still saw a calmness, a coolness, a leadership presence in him. And I think that's always been one of his greatest traits, is he rises to the moment. He never lets things get too big. He never gets flustered. And so I think you definitely have some things to build on there. And I think from Browns fans' perspective, this season, by and large, was about, do we have a quarterback on our roster for this year and next year? And we'd seen a lot of Dylan Gabriel. I think for the most part, the returns were good, but you saw that ceiling, which caused him to be a third-round pick, and you kind of were thinking, well, maybe he might be better suited long-term as our backup quarterback, and we're not exactly sure that he's going to be the starter, so let's get a chance to look at Shedeur Sanders. And we got that opportunity. He hung in there tough. Stats were not great, 4 of 16, 47 yards, a pick, and 2 sacks, but I think just the resiliency that he showed and the leadership, and I think not letting himself get flustered gives you a little bit of hope that when he does get his next opportunity, he's going to be better. He's going to continue to make strides. And at some point, we're going to be able to have him in a system with the first team reps and a game plan that is built specifically for him, that he feels comfortable running those plays, where he's going to feel good seeing the defense. And then he's going to be able to allow that arm talent to show. And then we get a realistic opportunity to see, hey, is this guy going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns?
All right, Huff, we can read stuff from other quarterbacks around the league, other backups, but you are on this program the authority who's uniquely positioned to answer the following questions. In your time in the NFL, how many first-team reps did a third or a fourth-string quarterback get during OTAs or training camp?
OTAs and training camp, So let's say 30 is your average number of team plays that you're going to get in a practice, right? It's somewhere around there. That's where all 11 are out there. That discounts and excludes like your 7-on-7, some of your like pass skelly type stuff. Your backups might get 1 rep per period, and usually a period 6 to 8 plays. So maybe 3 or 4 reps per practice, maybe. And that usually will go up if you've got a guy that's been your starter for 10 years and doesn't need all those reps, and you want to give the backup guy a little bit more opportunity to work on his play and his reading the defense and, connections with the receivers. But really more than anything, you're just giving your starter a break, giving that noodle a little time to rest in the offseason. But if it's
But a third string,
younger starter, you're probably not going to give the backup hardly anything. And the third string, they're not getting any first team reps.
right. So he was the fourth string when he was drafted.
That's right.
In essence, now you have an injury to Kenny Pickett, so that put him at third string. So I think that people are acting like it's insane that he got no first-team reps in training camp, but as the HOF would tell you, that is they would not get that. And then in season, people are making a big deal. Oh, well, Dylan Gabriel got some first-team reps when Joe Flacco was here, and HOF just laid out, well, yeah, Joe Flacco's been in the league 18 years, but now you have a rookie getting ready. So it's not a surprise. You played with, I mean, more quarterbacks probably than you can count. I'm sure, though, in your big brain you can itemize it. I would imagine there are many times guys came in the huddle, and that was the first time that you had ever heard their cadence or ever were on the field with that particular person.
As a matter of fact, I had a time when somebody came into the huddle and I didn't know his name. And we were on the road against Pittsburgh in the fourth quarter. And Josh Johnson trotted onto the field because of an injury to Thad Lewis. And I had no idea who this guy was. I knew he wasn't Thad Lewis, but I didn't know what his name was, so I had to introduce myself.
I knew who he wasn't.
So by process of elimination, I knew that I needed to introduce myself and figure out who this guy's name was so I could block for him properly. But I mean, that's just how it goes in the NFL. You just get so few reps during a week of practice. Like if you include Wednesday practice, Thursday practice, Friday, which is kind of quick, but you get a lot more reps, and then Saturday's walkthrough, you're talking about maybe 100 plays, and the starter is probably going to get all of them. Maybe he'll be out on a couple, but what you got to understand is when you're going through a week of practice and you're going through the game plan, it's not like you're just repping the same thing a bunch of times. You're repping probably each play maybe once, and you're getting a defensive look one time, and you got to nail it. And that's why you do a walkthrough in the morning, so you get an opportunity to go through everything for one time in 50% speed. And then when you're going full speed, you got to nail it because that's the only rep you get. And so your starters get those reps just the way it is. Like the starting O-line just takes every rep. Now, maybe if your coach is feeling sorry for you and it's super hot, he'll like take your first backup and he'll give everybody maybe 1 or 2 reps off during the length of the practice. But for the most part, practice during the season, your starters take those reps. It's just the way it is. And then the backups, they run the scout team. You only have a certain number of guys.
Yeah.
I think there's a massive disconnect by people who cover and talk about this league and what actually happens in practices, like a very massive disconnect. And then the other one I think is even more troubling because there are a lot of former players, people who know better, who are saying stuff that is predicated on clicks and videos going viral that it's not honest in any way, and they know better. Like they know better.
Just to give kind of a pseudo apples to apples comparison, would be we drafted DTR in the 5th round.
Yeah,
DTR was third string at best after we drafted him. He got no first team reps. Josh Dobbs was the backup.
Yep.
We ended up trading Josh Dobbs because he had a nice preseason. He ends up going, I think, to Arizona.
That seems right. Yeah,
Arizona, I want to say.
Arizona because Drew's out there.
Yeah, Petzing was out there. And then he was the backup. And then if you remember against Baltimore, Deshaun ends up being like a scratch on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up, DTR starts the game. He had gotten no reps, but it was not, there was not an
It wasn't a conspiracy.
outrage. It was not a conspiracy. It was an outcry. In fact, there was really no discussion of it whatsoever because he was a 5th round rookie who was a third stringer and then now was the backup into the season. But of course he wasn't getting reps. His reps were running the scout team and getting mental reps during walkthroughs and when he had an opportunity to observe those things. So yes, there is a media, and I'm glad you talked. I mean, a lot of ex-quarterbacks. Orlovsky was on Get Up this morning and tried to like lay out the reality of the situation, and they were having none of it.
Yeah, because it's not good. It's not good. It's not a good listen.
They're like, no. Oh, but Dan, you were an experienced backup, and he tried to be like, well, I wasn't at one point.
Yeah,
and they were just like, no, something. And something. It's a conspiracy. Something's wrong here. It isn't. Now, what do I want to see? Shedeur Sanders get a full week of practice with a game plan tailored to him to give him an opportunity? Absolutely. I would love to see that because I think we did see some positive things to your point, a willingness to push the ball down the field. Mm-hmm. I made a great play to get away from a free runner. That's when Isaiah Bond, right? That's when he normally hits that throw, and then all of a sudden it's bedlam here.
Yeah, for sure.
Great throw to Gage Larvidan. Better play by Chidobe Awuzie, who just happened to have his left hand right where it needed to be and was able to pry that ball out. And I thought it was smart. They put Gage out there on the last drive, somebody he had success with in the preseason, to give him that opportunity. But we did see some good things. Other things needed to be cleaned up. I was on the broadcast, Hoff, and I may be, again, I've tried to glom as much as I can from you and a lot of people a lot smarter than me about football, but I thought when they were just relentlessly blitzing him on one of those third downs, we had to run a screen. I would just want it just on one of them, because at some point, I think they blitzed him. It was something like 6 third downs in a row. So at some point, you got to try to keep him honest. And we tried to screen on first down, and unfortunately missed a block. It got blown up. But I thought maybe in that, how do you combat that when a team is just relentlessly blitzing you? And the two things I thought of were a screen or a draw. But unfortunately, we're not able to get that.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, they're looking back saying, man, I think on one of these third downs, after you realize, okay, they're just going to blitz them to death. Like, they're not going to stop blitzing. You may want to try to set up a screen. What they did a couple times is they tried to make a max protection where they turned the entire line. They put tight end and a running back off the backside edge, because what they were thinking, to your point, Shedeur is doing a good job pushing the ball down the field, right? Something that we haven't seen and that everybody's been calling for is like, we got to throw the ball on the field.
Yep.
You got the guy who's going to do it, and he's trying to do it. And it's a perfect situation if they think they're getting home with a blitz. The coverage is going to be tighter. They're going to be jumping the short routes, thinking that the ball's coming out quick. And you got an opportunity to make a big play down the field. So good thought on that. It didn't work out perfectly in that situation, but you can either try to max protect, where you got 7 protectors in, and if they add an 8th blitzer, you're hoping that because you're turning the line and you're kind of wadding everything up, that one of the blitzers with the loop and everything is going to run into somebody. So they're going to be slowed down. They might fall. You might actually get a 2-for-1 where you got 2 guys blocking 3. You get lucky in that situation quite a bit. It happened a couple times. Once when we were actually playing the Saints, Kyle Shanahan was our coordinator. We knew on third down, it was Greg Williams with the Saints. We knew, hey, third down when it's a got-to-have-it situation, what's this dude going to do, all right? He's not sitting back in coverage. He's sending the house, right? It's going to be a 0 blitz. And so we had that in our back pocket to be able to alert and change to a max protection and then get a 2-man route. And it turns out we actually won the game on that play because we saw it. We double cadenced them. They gave it away. We quickly alerted. We got the max protection. We got a 2-for-1 by their left tackle. I can't remember what his name is, but we were able to pick it up. We were going down the field with some longer routes, and we converted. And so I thought that was a good thought to try to make it happen. Unfortunately, though, these guys haven't practiced together long enough to be able to make it happen and make it seamless. And I think maybe in that situation, you got to go, okay, what's the easy button if they're blitzing us to death? Yeah, let's hit them with a screen there on third down on one of these, because it's clear that Shedeur doesn't see the blitzes, right? He's not understanding the structure of the blitz. Like, half of an offensive lineman's life is sitting in a dark room as they throw poop on you. That's why we're mushrooms. But watching the blitz cut-ups, you watch every structure of their blitzes the entire year, so you can call out exactly the blitz that they're going to give you based on the look. And sometimes it is how far the safety's off the hash, what the stance is of the defensive end on the backside when he's dropping. Now you know, okay, this guy in the left A-gap is coming. The guy in the right A-gap, he's dropping. He's going to be replaced by a looper. You know what they're doing by the structure and just from looking at that picture. But it takes hours and hours and hours and years of experience to be able to just look at it and go, yeah, I know that blitz.
Or being the hot.
So they were just giving him variations of that. And you could tell he didn't really feel comfortable seeing it because he didn't know where those guys were coming from. And then he's falling back in the bad habit of, okay, if I don't really know what's happening, I'm just going to keep backing up, hoping somebody gets open that I'm looking at, and I'm going to try to throw off my back foot. And he's a talented thrower, but he's not good enough to be able to make that work. And then defensive lines, they figure it out, and they go, okay, instead of rushing to a spot at 7 yards, I'm going to rush to a spot at 12 yards because that's where he's going to be after he starts backing up.
Hoff, if it is in fact Shedeur this week, and you called the preseason games, you saw him at his best, and he was really good in Carolina. If you're Tommy Rees, what do you build offensively this week? What's the identity? How do you have success with this offense this week if it is Shedeur against the Raiders?
Yeah, well, I think first thing you need to be ready for is the blitz, right? Obviously, that was what worked last week. He's not proven that he understands how to move the protections or get away from the guys that are hot, that are not going to be able to be blocked, and to throw to the right player. And so I think having an answer for the blitz, right? So you want to have some screens like Z was talking about. You want to be able to build in some of those max protections that you can always get to, right? It's kind of like the easy button. For a young quarterback, you're like, all right, if you see a big blitz and it looks like a max blitz, and you're not exactly sure, hey, you can always alert to this protection. And if they do max blitz, you know you're picked up, you're covered, you can go back to your normal progression. If for some reason they drop out, then we need to be able to get our running back or our tight end into the flat as an emergency. And you need to just know that, hey, you're not going to have great protection all across the board, or you only got two dudes who are running a route that is down the field, and they're probably not going to be open because they're going to have a lot of coverage there where you normally would have some openings. So you may want to throw it away or try to dump it down to your back, let him try to get something. But then I think really what they want to try to feature is a lot of the play action stuff to push the ball down the field. You know, Shedeur is a guy who does a good job throwing on the move. I think he does a really nice job throwing out of the boot, out of the half roll, out of those concepts that will fit in with some of our rushing concepts and give us an opportunity to push the ball on the field. That's something that, Dylan, we've been crying for all season, and we hadn't seen it. But maybe this is the thing that can separate Shedeur and give our offense a bit more of an advantage over what Dylan gives you, so that it opens up some of those easier things underneath and it opens up some of your running game.
Yeah, I definitely think there were things that you could build on that you saw there. I mean, if you just score, box score watched, it does not look great. 4 for 16 is hard to get your head around, but it's going to be very important. Now, the Raiders, I was kind of just quickly looking ahead, they're one of the top cover 3 teams in the league. They play that more than any 3 coverages combined other than that. So you're going to, this is going to be a team who's going to play a lot of cover 3. So you're going to put in a lot of cover 3 beaters for him and try to give him, right, Hoff, like one reads. We're going to try to stress this player or this triangle of players on this play, and if they react like this, the ball goes here. If they react like that, the ball goes there. Yeah. Right? Is that one of the ways you can try to simply give him a half field read, and say, we're going to stress this group of defenders. Their reactions will tell you where the ball is.
Yeah, you want to make it binary, right? So you're going to give him a pre-snap and a post-snap. So he's going to walk up to the line of scrimmage, and you're going to tell him, all right, if it's split safety and you got Jerry Jeudy over here, all right, let's just cut the field in half. Boom, don't even look over there. In your mind, of course, once you get the snap, maybe the first thing he wants to do is look over there, right? Give the defense the impression that he's starting over there when in his mind he knows I'm really only reading this half of the field. And then give him one defender to put in conflict, right? So if it's a split safety or a post safety, right? So that's what is the first thing in his mind. Split or post. Okay, now it narrows it down to one option or the other. And then once you get there, okay, if it's split, you're reading this guy. If it's post, you're reading that guy. And then he knows, okay, I'm reading this defender. If he plays up, I'm going to go over the top. If he plays deep, then I'm going to go underneath. So you're trying to put that guy in conflict and make it easy for him to be able to get an opportunity to push the ball down the field without having to know all the different concepts and all the different coverages and the different variations of the rotations that are happening everywhere else. You just leave it to a computer system. Binary, split safety or post safety, boom. If it's that, then this is the guy I'm reading. Is he high or low? This is the guy I'm throwing to. So you just make it easy so he can quickly react, and then just tell him, hey, sometimes the best play is a throwaway. If you thought that was where the ball should go, but now all of a sudden that guy is breaking on the ball that you didn't expect, just throw it over the guy's head and out of bounds, and we'll live to play another down. But the one thing you can't do is take 14, 15-yard sacks, because that is a absolute drive killer, and then you got no chance the rest of the drive.
Let's have a few minutes on the defense here. 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 off. This defense has played really at this kind of standard all year. How tough a job is it for Kevin to make sure that there's not finger pointing at this point? Because this defensive performance against the Ravens, who are in must-win mode, it's good enough to win. It's more than good enough to win.
Oh, yeah.
And so how do you make sure that you all keep rowing in the same direction when you have this crazy imbalance that we've had, and we've had it really all season, between the offense and the defense?
I think they've done a pretty good job. I think a lot of it is the personality of the defense, and I think that comes from Coach Jim Schwartz. And they've done a good job internalizing the fact that, look, our offense is just not very good. If we're going to win a game this year, it's got to be us. We got to do it with turnovers. We got to do it with sacks. We got to hope the special teams picks up their end of the bargain and gets us a big return or a fumble recovery like we saw over the weekend. And you know what? I think they've resigned themselves to the fact that the offense is just not very good. So if there was going to be a fracture between the offense and the defense, honestly, I think it would have already happened this season. So I'm not worried about that happening moving forward because I think the coaches have done a good job, and I think the guys in the defensive locker room have done a good job just accepting the fate of, look, our offense is not good. It's got to be us, and we're not going to finger point anybody but the people in this room if it doesn't work out.
What can you say about Myles Garrett? 10 sacks in his last 3 games. Last year, this is a stat that keeps boggling my mind. Last year, he had a career-high 22 tackles for a loss. That led the NFL. He has 22 tackles for a loss right now.
Right now.
In this season, in 10 games. 15 sacks, 22 tackles for a loss. He leads the NFL in both of those categories. And I got to tell you something. There have been, there are criticisms of Myles over the years. You have a guy who signed a big contract who is not getting back from an organizational standpoint in terms of the success that he, thought that he had been convinced was coming. For him to continue to perform at this level, I think speaks volumes about him and his leadership. And this is an unreal run.
It's like the guy we're talking to.
Of course.
It's what he.
Of
same
course.
thing Joe had. I mean,
his were zeros though.
Zeros.
No
No
minuses,
sacks, no
no
pressures,
sacks,
nothing.
no
Yeah.
pressures, nothing.
but it's crazy.
Nothing. Just shut him out. But it's crazy. And I wonder, 10 sacks in a 3-game period. I'd imagine Derek Thomas probably when he had
the 7.
But he had 7 and 1. He still has
and
to
one.
have 3 in the other 2,
Yeah, you're right.
consecutively. I wonder where that ranks all time. And I'd imagine there's got to be a note on that somewhere.
I would love to know because it's ridiculous to get 2 sacks in a game, much less 3, much less 4, much less putting them together in a couple game span. Because typically when you're having more than a couple sacks in a game, something really, really unusual has happened. It's not like you're just beating your dude like a drum because we see Myles beat his dude like a drum every week. But when the quarterback's getting rid of the football and they're adding extra protectors because they know where the problems are, it's pretty hard to get 4 sacks no matter how great you are, even if you're Myles Garrett. But I think for him, the thing that's exciting for me to watch is just the effort that he plays with. And a lot of sacks just come where you're just playing hard, you're playing to the whistle, and the quarterback hangs onto the football, like we saw in that one sprint right where Lamar, he sprinted right, there was nobody open, so coverage gets a lot of credit. And he thought, hey, I could just reverse field, but Myles just kept pushing, and he kept rushing, and he kept giving that effort towards the quarterback. It's where you see T.J. Watt getting a lot of sacks. Of course, he beats his man a lot as well, but a lot of those sacks are just effort, just because you won't stop, And I think when you combine what Myles is physically, which is unlike any other human we've ever seen that have walked the face of the earth, part dinosaur, and you combine that with great effort, get out of here. I don't want to see that dude. And I'll say, Ronnie Staley has blocked him as well as about any left tackle that I've seen. And they didn't give him as much help as a lot of teams do. And he still had an amazing game, Myles did, just with those effort sacks, just the willingness to just continue to go and play to the whistle is awesome. And it's so fun to watch him out there.
All right, so I got the answer.
Yeah.
Tied for the most in NFL history over a 3-game span, Derek Thomas, 97-98. Richard Dent.
Sackman Dent.
Monsters of the Midway, 1984, had 10 in a 3-game span as well. Myles is tied with that, with 10 sacks over his last 3 games. By the way, Hoff, did you see, and what would happen in the mushroom room when he gave a right hand jab to Roger Rosengarten, who is a large man, their right tackle.
Right. That's right.
One hand, and he knocked him on his butt like it was Thanos. Boom, and then went right in and sacked Lamar Jackson. It's just a one-hand, right-hand punch, and it was just kablam.
What I would have done, I would have quickly, knowing that play's coming up, obviously, because you probably had a sick feeling in your stomach since the moment that happened until a film session. You have to get up real quick about 3 plays before. Coach, I'm sorry, I got to go to the bathroom. And you just sprint out of there, and you don't come back for like a half hour. Because I don't know if you can recover after living through the beating that your O-line coach and your O-line mates are going to give you for the humiliation that human being had put on top of your body and your soul. It just took your soul and threw you backwards like a cartoon character, man.
Man.
It's a Hall of Fame level of professionalism is what it is. Because the season is not what he thought he was signing
First
up to,
ballot. Yep.
but it is a Hall of Fame level of professionalism. It is a a pride in your singular greatness, and that every single day that you show up on a Sunday to play, you're at your best.
Yep.
Hoff, it has to make you so proud, because I know that you grabbed him early as your career was coming to an end and his was just beginning, and you could see the greatness in him, but you never know how someone's going to respond to guidance or how they're going to respond to any of it. And he's responded aces. I mean, to get this out of him is remarkable every single time out.
It's so cool. Yeah, I mean, just watching him from afar as his career has obviously taken off and reached heights that we haven't really seen from a defender in the NFL, in my opinion, ever. I know there's a lot of people that want to fight me on social media about Reggie White, and I loved Reggie White. I got to watch him up close and personal when I was a kid in Wisconsin, and he was amazing, but I just don't think even he can compare to what Myles Garrett can do on the football field with his speed and his strength and his ability to play all across the board with the effort that he plays with week in and week out. I mean, I do have a lot of pride watching, just knowing as a friend of mine and as a guy that came in as a rookie. I got hurt, 7 games in or whatever, and just kind of took the rest of the season trying to just download my brain into his, and if one thing clicks, hopefully that pays off, and trying to give him perspective of how an offensive lineman would see him and try to block him. Try is the key word in that situation. But the cool thing was, like, he never came in with an ego. He was not ever a diva. He was never a player that was like, hey, I got this, don't worry about it. I know you know a lot of things, but you're on the offensive side of the ball. Just having a willing worker, a willing listener, somebody that's eager to learn is so much fun as another player. And I know his coaches love coaching him, right? Because he wants to be the greatest of all time, and good is never good enough for him. And I think that unwillingness to be satisfied is what continues to build the next level of performance and the elevation of his career and his greatness. Because he got 4 sacks, but he wants 5. That's that thirst that can never be quenched. I love it.
That's your Trench Report, brought to you by Big Fig, the mattress made for more, crafted in Cleveland, just like our Browns. We're going to do some game balls just on defense, and we can't give it to Myles. I have an idea who's getting the other one because he might be an All-Pro too, wearing number 49. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's the Defensive Rookie of the Year, 11 tackles in this one, gets his 2nd interception on the season. He's got sacks. He is doing it all. Yeah, I think he is in All-Pro consideration.
I agree.
And I think he is probably, I know there's a safety, Manwari, who's playing well in Seattle that people talk about as well, but I can't imagine. You think about, JOK is unable to go. Jordan Hicks is going to be your Mike linebacker. He retires suddenly and catches everybody by surprise to start training camp. And this guy, who was a 1-year starter in college, is playing at this level. And this is a point I made. I was talking with Jason Tarver last week, by the way, and he is open to a weekly segment. He's told me personally. So he's like, I'll do it. Hey, I'll do it. Yeah, absolutely. You think about the offenses we've faced this year. So this is 10 games. Baltimore twice, Miami, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith. And I might be leaving some out, but these are heavy motion, heavy multiple personnel groupings, offenses that are designed with a lot of eye candy, a lot of late movement, and quarterbacks, not to mention, that are incredibly experienced, whether it's Lamar, Joe Burrow week 1, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers. Offenses that are designed to stress Mike linebackers and to put them at a disadvantage in that chess game. This is a guy who started 1 year in college, and yet here he is doing what he is doing right now, I think is simply – and by the way, guy had a high ankle sprain 3 weeks ago.
That's right.
Didn't miss a game.
No.
And has had back-to-back double-digit tackle games and is making impactful plays, whether it be sacks, interceptions,
the
and
fill
tackles
on
for
the
loss.
Derrick
He's
Henry
everywhere.
play was unreal when he filled.
And he stoned him in the hall? In the hole? Yeah.
Yeah.
He had 2.
him.
He had one where he stoned Derrick Henry in the hole, which I have not seen prior.
Never.
And I don't mean that from a hyperbolic standpoint, but I just can't remember a time where
either.
he had a full head of steam and then just stopped. And there was another one where Derrick Henry had a head of steam going through the hole, and he wrapped him from the side and got him down. Normally he runs right through those arms.
Yeah.
He is an incredible player.
Yeah, he's fun to watch too, right? He's doing everything. Typically you get a Mike linebacker and you're going, all right, he's going to be a little slow, but he's going to be physical in the hole, right? So there's not going to be fullbacks or tight ends that are inserting that are going to run him over and create extra seams. Or you get a guy where you're like, okay, he can run sideline to sideline pretty good. He can cover really well, but he's a bit of a liability in the run game because we got to cover him up. We don't really want our big guards getting up to him, but amazingly, this guy does it all, right? He's sideline to sideline with that speed. He's intelligent, being able to understand the complexities of the defenses that they need to run, and then the offenses, how they're trying to attack our defense, getting guys lined up. But then he's still physical in the hole, right? He's still a physical presence. So I don't know if I'd call him a throwback or if he's the next generation of linebacker, but either way, I think he is definitely in consideration for being an all-pro, definitely all-rookie team. But, I mean, people talk about the linebacker position not having a lot of value anymore. Well, I point to a guy like that, Mr. Carson Schlesinger, number 49. He brings a ton of value to your defense. And obviously, he's pretty cheap right now as a rookie, but when you re-sign him, he's going to be worth every penny.
Oh, yeah.
All right, great stuff, Hoff. As always, we'll do it again next week on the Joe Thomas half hour of the program. Thank you so much for your time. Look forward to it again next week.
What a setup.
The setup he has is unbelievable. A hunting lodge, like he's got some sort of shearling hoodie. Like, come on. Yeah. Fire burning, a nice hearty sip of a warm beverage.
Yeah, there's a beautiful chandelier above him right
he's
now.
got everything.
He's got everything.
Look at
there it is.
Yeah,
look at that thing.
Look at that puppy.
What a time.
Wow.
Oh, baby.
Wow, folks.
All right, Hoff.
All right, guys. Good seeing you. Ciao.
And that was Cleveland Browns Daily for this Monday edition. Thanks for listening, everybody. 850 ESPN Cleveland.